City boy, city boy. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Nate the Great, back with another video. And you know we gotta go ahead and do a Monday Night Raw review. Now, I apologize for being gone over this last weekend, alright? It was the 4th of July. I was with my family. I wasn't gonna do the review of Friday Night SmackDown. I couldn't do it, man. It was a shit show either way. I watched it live, but it was nothing worth talking about, all right? As I said, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-hour show, 3-hour show, 4-hour show, 30-minute show, 15-minute show. Triple H does not know how to book a damn thing. So, regardless, the show is gonna be ass, all right? So, let's go ahead and jump into what happened tonight on this show, right? This show wasn't the worst show in the world. It did have the worst segment of all time on it, all right, by far. Okay, like, oh my, the segment between, we got to talk about this real quick before we even really jump into the show. The segment between Becky Lynch, Bayley, and Lyra Valkyria was the worst fucking segment of all time. All right, it just is what the fuck it is at this point, man. Becky Lynch, Bayley, they're washed up, and Lyra, man, she might be able to scrounge up something maybe one day, all right, after lots and lots of practice. But as of this point, she cannot hold up that microphone and say anything interesting, tell any interesting stories, all right? And she's shrill and loud and very annoying. No charisma on the microphone, all right? Zero charisma on the microphone, all right? So we're going to go ahead and jump into that later, but I just had to start off and say that, man. That shit was fucking horrible. How they could just dump that shit on the masses in the middle of a fucking episode. Like, it was just bad, man. But all of it wasn't terrible, okay? All of it wasn't terrible. So we're going to go ahead and jump into it. From the top of the show, of course, we're going to start off with our obligatory superstar walkouts. All right, we got to see everybody that's going to be on the card just walking into the arena, just lackadaisically, just walking into the arena for whatever reason. All right, instead of spending time just getting people hyped, like legitimately hyped to see what the fuck is going to happen tonight. All right, maybe a little recap, maybe some hardcore rock music that's going to get the people jumping, right? Maybe something. Give me something. All right, but no, we get to see people walking in drinking coffee and shit like that. But whatever, we move on. Seth Rollins and his little faction, because they still don't have a name up to this point. It's getting ridiculous. It's like, I have to call them something, right? You have to call them something. What is it? All right. They've given Paul Heyman a brand new name tonight. All right. And in the first half of the night, they didn't call him that, right? They called him the Wise Man. First, he was even introduced as the Wise Man. And then later in the second half of the night, they started calling him the Oracle. He is now the Oracle, Paul Heyman. All right. And however fucking retarded that shit is, all right, this whole group, as I said, is not to be taken seriously because they don't even have a name, man. They don't have a name. They go out there, they barely win matches, all right? They barely go over in their matches when they do win, which we will talk about, all right? Because we got to talk about Seth Rollins' match with Penta, where Penta just absolutely whipped the ass of Seth Rollins for like 15 minutes before Seth Rollins just hits him in the nuts. All right, we're gonna get into that, okay? But first of all, we got to get into this promo. All right, this promo where Seth Rollins' faction, because that's what we have to call them for now, comes out, and Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed actually try to give some kind of explanation as to why they're there. A whole 2.5, 3 months in after this group has been formed, right? Now they're going to start speaking on the microphone, finally, okay? Finally. And now they're giving an explanation. But the explanations are very slim to none, all right? Because the shit really does not make sense. There's really not much they can say, right? Braun Breaker comes out and he says, all right, I'm standing in this ring because I'm a part of Seth Rollins' vision, and Seth Rollins' vision is having me as the face of the company over the next 2 decades. And my question is, right, all right, because like, all right, that's a premise, appreciate that, but then my question becomes, so what's the plan, right? What's Seth Rollins' plan for you? Just having you as the face, like the face of the company, over the next 2 decades, that takes a plan, and the plan has to then be executed upon, right? So what does that mean? What does that mean for you? Does that mean that you're going to be the World Heavyweight Champion or the WWE Champion? What does that mean? If that's the case, why did Seth Rollins, instead of putting you in the position to go ahead and win the Money in the Bank, why did Seth Rollins go and win the Money in the Bank? Why was that? Why? We're going to have to make some kind of sense about this. Why did he not position you or Bronson Reed to, really actually have a fighting chance in order to get into the King of the Ring? Why didn't he make that like a very big part of what he was going for? It doesn't make any sense if you guys plan on being the face. Like these are just questions that you have to ask after he says something like this, because he doesn't give us anything else. He just goes into how much he hates Sami Zayn. All right, and this part of the promo I did appreciate. All right, it's like Braun Breaker sat and watched all my videos, all Nate the Great's videos, and just compiled everything I've ever said about Sami Zayn in just one promo, all right? He said he doesn't like Sami Zayn's music, doesn't like how he's a skinny, fat jobber, all right? How he's unathletic, doesn't go to the gym. He doesn't understand how the audience cheers for him, all right? Doesn't understand why the audience loves him. Doesn't make any fucking sense. Just like it doesn't make any sense to me, all right? And he gets really worked up in this promo. I actually thought it was, it was decently executed enough, right? His voice cracked a couple times, and it just looked like he was getting very, very worked up. And you could just see, you could feel that he really does not like Sami Zayn, right? So that was that, right? Then Bronson Reed, he cuts his promo, all right, where he says, the reason why he's here is because, he's the one who hit Seth Rollins with 6 tsunamis, all right? And that made Seth Rollins respect him so much that Seth Rollins wanted to bring him into the group. So the way Seth Rollins' system of respect works is if you beat the absolute dog shit out of him, right? If you try to end his career and take his life, right? If you do that to him, then you'll earn his respect, all right? That's how you earn his respect. You just got to almost end his life. It makes sense, all right? That's plausible, right? And then he says some shit that sounded more like a dig at Seth Rollins than a compliment or whatever, a big up to him or whatever, right? He says, because he has a match against Jey Uso this evening, right? So he says, I'm going to tsunami the respect into Jey Uso the same way I tsunami the respect into Seth Rollins. Like, motherfucker, aren't you the lackey? Why would you, this is what I'm saying about this group. This group does not make sense. None of this makes sense, all right? Then Paul Heyman says some shit, all right? Talks about how, I don't know, Paul Heyman has his own shtick. I didn't really pay attention too much to what Paul Heyman was saying because it was a whole lot of nothing, all right? He was just talking about how, they're the future and everything that Seth Rollins has planned, how he has a match against Penta tonight, and basically that. And after this, the crowd chants for CM Punk, all right? And that goes to show how fucking awful this group is. The crowd doesn't even care about this group. Although they come out, and when they come out, the crowd is roaring, right? Because Seth Rollins' music hits, and it's a decent song, so they want to sing along to the song. And he has Braun Breaker with him, and because he has Braun Breaker with him, he wants to he wants to fucking the crowd wants to bark and all that extra shit at him, right? They want to bark and do all that, and all the crowd fare is there. But really, at the end of the day, that's it. They just want to participate. They paid all that money. They want to participate, but they don't give a fuck about this group because there's no reason to give a fuck about this group. There's no reason. Why would you give a fuck about this group when they haven't given us a reason to? They feel like a mid-card faction at this point. They're fighting just a bunch of mid-carders this evening, and they're acting like they're serious threats. All right, this shit's terrible, right? But that was that segment. It was an okay way to start off Monday Night Raw, but it just felt too little too late, all right? Like, I feel like I already should have known all, and like, I already do know all this situation, all this information. Like, Paul Heyman said exactly what Bronson Reed said about himself, right? Paul Heyman said that, you know, Bronson Reed basically tried to, you know, end Seth Rollins' career, and Seth Rollins respects him now, right? He already said this, so they just came out and said the same thing that they've already said before, or that Paul Heyman has said before, or that Seth Rollins has said before, but they just said it themselves as if that's actually an explanation, when it's still not, because we still don't know what their plans are and what that looks like in real time. But whatever, we got to move on, okay, to the obligatory weekly Judgment Day segment, all right? Now, Roxanne has built like a shrine, or like a eulogy type shrine to Liv Morgan, you know, eulogizing her for being gone, right? And you know, Raquel was not impressed with this. She was not satisfied with this at all. All right, she was like, she's still alive. Like, why are you acting like this? She's gonna be back soon. She's rehabbing every day. Finn Balor's like, well, you know, you don't know about that. You know, I messed up my shoulder and I was out for 8 months. Okay, and I'm tough. Liv's tough, but you know, you never know, right? That's basically what Finn says. Raquel just basically tells Roxanne that she has to hold up her end of the bargain in her match with Sane tonight. Finn Balor and JD say they're going to go and talk to Pierce about what they have coming up next for them. This never materializes in the end. All right, we never see from these two or hear from these two ever again for the rest of the night. So there was that. And AJ Styles left Dom like this cake, right? So Dom's there. He's looking around and he's like, oh, well, thank you guys. I appreciate this get well soon cake. And they're like, oh, well, I didn't leave that for you. You know what I'm saying? They said at the same time that it was Finn and JD. They were like, oh, I didn't do it. Did you do it? No, I didn't do it. So Dom was like, what the fuck? There's a card. It reads, get well soon from AJ. And then Dom looks around and AJ is standing around the corner looking at Dom. And he like does like the little eye point, like the I'm watching you thing, right? Dom runs out, you know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I got a doctor's note. You can't be messing with me and shit like that, right? And I've enjoyed this little dynamic that AJ and Dom have had. It feels like they have a very good dynamic. They have good chemistry. So I didn't mind this segment, but I just don't give a damn about the Judgment Day. I don't care. Like, I just want it to end so badly. All right? Each and every single week that I have to talk about him, it's just like, man, I really wish that they would have just ended this shit after Rhea Ripley and fucking Damian Priest left. I really do. Because we just have all these derivative groups in the WWE right now. And it's really watering down the product. It's watering down the teams. It's just watering down the gravitas of what these teams were supposed to be when they started and who they are and where they are now. All right? That's Judgment Day. That's Bloodline, right? Whatever. So that was that. We move on to the match I was just speaking about, which is Kairi Sane versus Roxanne Perez. Now, this match was way too fucking long. All right, I don't care about this match at all. I don't care about Kairi Sane. I don't care about Roxanne Perez. They haven't given me a reason to yet. So the fact that this match was like 15, 20 minutes long does not make any sense to me, especially the fact that this match was 15, 20 minutes long, and then it ended in a roll-up, all right, where Kairi Sane rolls up fucking Roxanne Perez, even though with a little bit of, I won't say help from Raquel Rodriguez, but definitely a little bit of a distraction, because she tried to pull Roxanne out and, like, tend to her because she was hurt and fucked up a little bit, all right. Was it a good match? I guess, but not really, because there was no story behind this besides the fact that, you know, Kairi Sane hurt Liv, so Roxanne wants revenge. But this didn't feel like a revenge match, right? This didn't feel like that. This just felt like just another run-of-the-mill match where we just got to get in as many good-looking spots as we want to, all right? I'm not here to beat your ass. I'm here to put you in different types of pin combinations and jump off the ropes and do all this extra stupid, goofy shit, all right? It doesn't make sense. It's supposed to be a brawl. This is supposed to be a revenge match, and it really doesn't look like Roxanne is out there to, you know, take revenge on Kairi Sane, right? It doesn't look like it. So that was that. All right. Kairi Sane, like I said, she won this match. After the match, Raquel and Roxanne, they both started to beat down Kairi Sane. Asuka comes out there for the save. All right. Helps Kairi Sane. Basically, they, she 2v1s Roxanne and Raquel, right? Then Kairi Sane, she gets up, she starts to help because Raquel kind of gets the upper hand after hitting Asuka with a clothesline, right? After she hits her with the clothesline, Kairi Sane gets up, starts attacking her. It's a whole little thing. But at the end of it, Asuka and Kairi Sane, they end up standing tall. But here's the thing about Asuka. Asuka has so much charisma in the ring, and ever since she's been back, she's really, I really feel like ever since she's been back, she's like really taken her charisma up to another level, right? And I feel like if you're gonna be a Japanese wrestler that doesn't speak much English at all, the least you can do is be charismatic, and Asuka is absolutely pulling that off. All right, she comes out there, all her moves are like really, they look stiff, they look good, right? And she makes it look like they're big moves, like they really hurt, like they're like, you know what I mean? Like she makes it look like something that you want to watch, that you want to react to. So I really like Asuka, and I have liked her since she's come back. So I don't mind Asuka, standing tall necessarily, but I do have an issue with Raquel Miss Enforcer getting 2v1 by Asuka. Like, this shit doesn't make sense, man. She just had a match with Rhea Ripley where they were trying to bill her as the enforcer, and she's the enforcer, but she gets 2v1 by Asuka. Shit doesn't fucking make sense, all right? But whatever. Like I said, the Kabuki Warriors, they stand tall, and we move on. Next up, we got Sami Zayn in an interview with I don't know, one of them. I genuinely have no idea. I think not Jackie Redmond. It was some other lady. All right, I don't know. Okay, they're all the same to me. All these little interview ladies, but she basically asked how he's managing all the stuff that's going on. He has his ribs, Karrion Kross lurking behind him, Braun Breaker calling him out, threatening him, and saying that he doesn't like him, taking shots at him. How he's managing all this and everything that's going on, and Sami Zayn just can't handle it. Like it's just so much. Sami Zayn says he's struggling. And I understand. Sami Zayn can't handle it. All right, he says that he's not managing it well. All right, like I don't give a fuck about this. I don't give a fuck about Sami Zayn. All right, and I'm glad that whatever happens, later on tonight, which we will get to, happens, okay? Because he says he's not managing well, all right? Says that he has too much. He wishes he can focus on one thing at a time right now, but he has too much going on at the moment, all right? He walks off, and then Scarlett, Karrion Kross's girl, his wife, she walks up, and the little interview lady, she's like, is there something that you wanted to say? What's going on here? Why'd you pull up on me like that, basically, right? Because why is she looking like that, right? And she just says no, and then that was that. All right, we go to, I guess, what would be a commercial, maybe, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I was watching on the little streaming app, so I didn't see any of the commercials tonight. So, the New Day come out on the stage and they cut a little promo where they're saying that the tag team championship was stolen. It's a conspiracy. All right. And look, they did a good job in this promo. All right. I thought it was a decently cut promo, but Triple H, can you come up with something else? Like, DIY is doing the same shit on SmackDown. DIY is doing the same conspiracy gimmick and has been for the last 6 months now on SmackDown. How it's a conspiracy, how the tag team division is out to get them, and there's a conspiracy to keep the tag team champions away from them. They're doing the same shit on SmackDown. Can we get something new? No, that would be too much right, you understand? That would be too much sense to be made. But whatever, okay, like I said, they did a good job in this promo, but it's just hard for me to get into it because, bro, we have the same shit going on SmackDown. So now the New Day, they're going to be doing the same shit as DIY, but better, I guess, right? They're going to be doing it better and making it more, hilarious, and making it make more sense than DIY can, because DIY sucks, right? Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, they suck. But at the end of the day, it's just the same shit, man, week after week. Then we get American Made backstage with Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce is saying that El Grande Americano, he's going to be fighting this evening, right? He's going to be fighting tonight, which doesn't make sense because, obviously Chad Gable is injured, right? And that's what basically American Made and fucking Brutus were saying, because Brutus is like, well, it doesn't make sense because Chad Gable's not here, right? Like they just make Brutus look like an absolute fucking retard, right? Chad Gable's not here, like, and Adam Pearce is like, well, why would that mean anything, right? Why would Chad Gable not being here mean anything for El Grande? Like, I don't give a fuck about this shit, all right? But the fact that El Grande Americano is fighting tonight, that is some retarded shit, all right? I will get into that later on in the evening once we get to that match, but I can't stand Triple H for what's about to go down, okay? But after this, right, Ivy Nile, she asked for a spot in the Battle Royal, and Adam Pearce is like, yeah, of course, you're in it, right? Like, obviously she's in it, right? The Battle Royal that's happening at Evolution, right, that's for the jobbers, right? That's for all the women that don't have shit going on. Ivy Nile is one of the women that don't have shit going on. She's not in contention for any of the titles. She's not, she just doesn't have shit going on, all right? She just sits around backstage with her group in catering, chilling, right? Eating all the fucking creatine back there with her big ass, right? That's what she's doing. So, of course she was going to be in that match. But whatever, okay? After they leave, Asuka and Kairi Sane, they come up and they say they want, they want the Judgment Day. They want to fight them again, right? They want the tag titles. And what's his face? Adam Pearce says that, all right, since they want to, since they want to fight the Judgment Day, they can be in the Fatal 4-Way match with the Judgment Day on Evolution, right? Or on Sunday at Evolution, I should say. So they're going to be representing Raw because it's a Raw team, it's an NXT team, and a SmackDown team versus the champions. So that's going to be that. I don't know. Are you guys going to watch Evolution? Let me know down in the comments below, because I'm thinking I'll watch it, like, just because, I'll be off. So it's like, I don't really have shit to do, so I might as well. But it's like, I don't know if I want to waste my off day watching Evolution. I don't know if I want to do it, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, okay? So after this, Nikki Bella, she gets a video promo, and she basically cuts a promo saying that, she wants to enter the Battle Royal, and she wants to prove herself again, prove that, she doesn't run away from anything and all this stuff, right? And here's my thing. Triple H sucks, all right? All this shit about Triple H being a great booker just has to go in the garbage, all right? He has Nikki Bella come back, cut a little promo on Liv Morgan, and they were supposed to have a match at Evolution. Or maybe it was supposed to be Liv and Io Sky, because they also set that shit up for, I think, Evolution. Like, I think they were doing both of... I don't remember exactly how it was supposed to work out, because Liv had just cut a promo on Nikki Bella. The week before, Io Sky cut a promo on Liv Morgan. So, there was that. And then, after that, we just didn't see Nikki Bella for who knows how long, right? For, like, the last month. And Liv Morgan obviously gets injured. And now Nikki Bella comes out and says she's going to be in the Battle Royal instead of maybe fighting, I don't know, Raquel Rodriguez, putting her in that spot. Oh, yeah, of course. Raquel Rodriguez, she's, tag team champion still for whatever reason, right? And she's in that whole little shebang with them. So they had nothing else for Nikki Bella. They couldn't put anybody else in a spot to have a singles match with Nikki Bella, a champion, or, a former champion, I should say, and a Hall of Famer and all that stuff. Couldn't put anybody else in that spot. Just throw her in the Battle Royal. She now doesn't have shit going on. She can just be in there with the jobbers. Whatever. We move on. The next match is Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. And obviously, this is my favorite match of the night, right? Like, I get to see Sami Zayn get his ass whipped, all right? I'm obviously going to enjoy the fuck out of this, all right? Now, before the match, Karrion Kross comes out and he beats the dog shit out of Sami Zayn, all right? He beats him with the pipe, all right, or he hits him in the ribs with the pipe again. All right, Sami Zayn was already selling the ribs earlier in the night, and now he's selling the ribs again, right? Because he just got hit with a pipe. He just got beat up by Karrion Kross, all right? during the commercial break and even a little bit after commercial break, Sami Zayn was Adam Pearce, I should say, was trying to convince Sami Zayn not to go on with the match. All right, but Sami Zayn, being the dummy that he is, instead of going backstage because he obviously has broken ribs or something, right? In kayfabe, this motherfucker's fucked up, right? So instead of going back, taking care of himself as he should, right? Which Corey Graves, which we have to talk about real quick before I move on. Corey Graves. I am so glad that Corey Graves is back. I am so glad, because Corey Graves is really that guy. All right? Corey Graves is really that man. Corey Graves is just leagues better than Pat McAfee. Is he better than, is he like on par with JR and King and all of that? No, of course not. But Corey Graves is vastly superior to Pat McAfee. He actually does his damnedest to tell stories with the bullshit that they're given on screen. So just having Corey Graves back is just, it's made the product 10 times better than when Pat McAfee was around. So let's just give it up for Corey Graves real quick. But anyways, like I said, Adam Pearce was in there trying to convince Sami Zayn not to go on with the match. All right, and Sami Zayn, all fucked up, he's like, oh, I don't want to do it. I can't give up. I can't run away, when running away or giving up in this sense would not be giving up. It'd be like, motherfucker, I'm taking care of myself, as he should, as Corey Graves mentioned multiple times during this segment. All right, but he says he wants to stay out there. Braun Breaker then comes out and absolutely puts the work on Sami Zayn. All right, he beats him down for a good solid 10 minutes. Sami Zayn does try to come back, hits a couple of moves on him, tries to jump off the top rope and hit Braun Breaker with something. I don't know what he was going for, but Braun Breaker caught him in midair with the spear. All right, Sami Zayn rolls out the ring. Braun Breaker hits him again, right, with a little run around the ring spear. He didn't get all of it. All right, I sound like Michael fucking Cole. He didn't get all of it. Like, he didn't get all of it. But yeah, he really didn't get all of it. You can see on the camera that he just did not get all of it. He like wrapped his arm around Sami Zayn at like the last second. So there was that. But for effect, he speared Sami Zayn again, and then threw him in the ring, tossed him in the ring, and then hit him with another one of those good spears. All right, then hit him with the 1, 2, 3. Sami Zayn basically got squashed, and I never have an issue with seeing Sami Zayn get squashed. That's always a good thing in my book, because Sami Zayn is a jobber, should be treated like a jobber. Okay, and yeah, there was that match. I don't have any issues with this at all. All right, it was great. It was greatly done. All right, they wanted to protect Sami Zayn for whatever reason. I would have done it without the Karrion Kross, run in. I would have just had Braun Breaker go out there and destroy Sami Zayn regardless. But, they wanted to protect Sami Zayn. Do what you got to do. Braun Breaker comes out victorious, squashes Sami Zayn. Next up, we got Adam Pearce. He's backstage with the New Day and the War Raiders. He's talking with the War Raiders about something. I think maybe a tag team championship opportunity. The New Day comes in dressed in their eulogy outfit that they had in their promo earlier when they came out on the stage. All right, looking like absolute fucking goofs. All right, and they're talking about the travesty that it is, and how Adam Pearce is an accomplice in the theft of the tag team championships and all this shit, right? And the War Raiders, they basically say because the New Day they want a rematch for the tag team championships, and the War Raiders are like, oh well, you can't just walk in and get a championship rematch, because what did you guys say when you guys were the champions? You only wanted to fight against new contenders, is what you said, and that is what they said. So obviously we're going to see a match between the War Raiders and the New Day again. Are you excited for that? Because I'm certainly not. But let's go ahead and move on. JD McDonough, he gets a vignette where they show him cracking his cranium on the announce table and, basically saying that he's war ready now and he's hardened now. Like, motherfucker, no. Like, that shit took like 6 years off your life, JD. Like, that shit took 6-7 years off your life right there when you hit your fucking head on that fucking announce table like that. So I don't think that makes you battle ready now. Okay, I don't think that your lung collapsed off of that shit, bro. Like, chill out now. But whatever. All right, it was a okay, I guess, vignette. Next up, we get, we get the worst segment of all time on Monday Night Raw. This segment was so fucking bad. I don't even want to really get into it as much as I should because of how fucking awful this segment was. This segment was everything wrong with the women's division. Triple H telling a couple of shrill, shrieking women to go out there and cut a promo on each other about friendship and betrayal and all this shit that they're talking about, and it's just not good. All right, it's just not good. We are already in a position where this story does not make sense because we had a fucking double pin last week. All right, for whatever reason, we had a draw last week. All right, instead of making it, if it was going to be a draw, it should have been where they both beat the shit out of each other so much to a point where neither of them could continue, right? So they both were just out, and they just called it a draw. They counted to 10 since they were both out, and they did a draw like that. That would have been, at least something. Then they could say, then we could say, oh, they earned it. They both earned it. They beat the shit out of each other, right? They kept going till they couldn't continue anymore. They took everything out of each other, so they both deserve to get in there and fight for the championship. But no, we get a double pin, right? Doesn't make sense. And then from there, we get this fucking promo from Becky, where she says exactly that, how two people that pinned each other, that technically both lost, right? They pinned each other, how they now have an opportunity at championship gold, where she is now the one at a statistical disadvantage to win the match, which is true, right? Like, that is fucking true. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It does. This whole story doesn't make sense. And then they come out and Becky Lynch, she's awful at cutting promos, right? She sucks on the mic. She has no charisma at all, whatever. And the Irish accent, it does not help her in the slightest, right? Then Lyra and Bayley, they come out, right? First Bayley comes, and then Lyra's music hits, and she just storms past Bayley, right? And she's, what are you talking about? My title is wrapped around a bucket of crazy. My title is wrapped around a bucket of crazy. I'm like, oh man, this shit, just let this shit end, man. And thankfully it did end. It ended in a brawl. Of course it did, with Lyra Valkyria standing tall at the end of it after hitting both of these ladies, all right, the champion included, with a Nightwing and standing tall over them. So there was that. This shit was awful, all right? If you want to watch that shit back, you go ahead. But I'm not going to spend too much time on it. This shit was garbage, all right? This shit fucked up the rest of the show for me, to be honest with you, all right? But let's go ahead, jump into what happened next, all right? So we get Seth Rollins and his faction. They're backstage. They're talking about the match that just happened with Sami Zayn, all right? Braun Breaker, he's sitting there. He's like, man, it feels good to... Because, Seth Rollins was like, hey, what's going on? You don't look, you don't look excited. You don't look happy that you just, took out Sami Zayn. Braun Breaker's like, hey, man, I don't know. I just, I'm happy that Sami Zayn's gone or whatever. But at the end of the day, Karrion Kross was there, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want people to think that I couldn't do it on my own. Seth was like, man, don't worry about that shit. And nobody's worried about that shit. Trust me, bro. We all were just happy to see Sami Zayn get taken out. All right. Paul Heyman then comes in with the news that Sami Zayn will be out indefinitely. All right. Remember this for later on when I talk about something else. All right. He says he's out indefinitely. All right. So they celebrate a little bit. All right. Then Seth Rollins sees that Bronson Reed is laughing. Seth Rollins is like, hey, what I heard is that Jey Uso is in perfectly 100% healthy condition. All right. And then Bronson Reed's like, well, he won't be when I'm done with him. All right. Then we get into that match. So we get Jey Uso versus Bronson Reed. All right. Now, this match, this told me everything I need to know about Bronson Reed in this group and his standing in this group. Jey Uso, of course, after he yeets for a good 10 minutes and gets an encore yeet and all that, all right? I don't even have to explain how fucking awful that shit was, how time-consuming that shit is, how awful that shit is to watch that dumb shit every single week on this TV show, all right? But Jey Uso comes out there, and Jey Uso, I've never seen Jey Uso lay the smack down on somebody like this, all right? The smacketh down. All right, Jey Uso sat there and whipped Bronson Reed's ass for the first 5 minutes of the match. All right, throws him over the announce table, like Jey Uso was getting hyped. Jey Uso was whooping Bronson Reed's ass. Okay, so we see Bronson Reed's position in the group now. All right, Jey Uso is above Bronson Reed in this group. All right, so right there's that. Jey Uso's getting ready to, I think, hit like a suicide dive on Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed just throws one of the announcing chair tables or one of the announce chairs at him, right? He just throws that shit at Jay's head as he's coming out to do the suicide dive, right? And then he goes and does 2 tsunamis on Jay, right? And takes him out that way. All right. Fucking Adam Pearce and the rest of the suits, they come out and try to stop Bronson Reed from doing any more damage. All right, but whatever. Okay, so we see that Bronson Reed, he was not going to be able to beat Jey Uso clean. In fact, in the first half of the match, all right, Jey Uso was whipping that ass. Okay, so next up we get LA Knight in a video package where I was hoping to get something, all right, besides, him saying that he was going to whoop Seth Rollins' ass, which, obviously he should say that, right? But I was hoping to get a stipulation or something of the sorts, right? Something like that, so that way we could, be more invested in the match that's going to happen. But no, he just says he's going to beat Seth Rollins upside the head with the briefcase, right? He's going to be the briefcase holder, but he's going to shove it up his keister or something like that, right? That's basically what LA Knight came to say in this video package, this little video promo that he got, all right? Then Rhea Ripley, she gets and Io Sky, they get a video package for their whole situation, all right? And in this video package, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, I think they did it last week where Io Sky comes out and says that she wants to fight the best, and in order to fight the best, she wants to fight Rhea Ripley. But this doesn't make sense for a couple of reasons. We've already stated quite a few times that Rhea Ripley has never beat Io Sky in a one-on-one match. So why would Io Sky want to face a loser, to her? Because Rhea Ripley has only ever lost to Io Sky. So in what planet would it make sense if Io Sky is looking to fight the best? Why would she go and fight the person that she's beat 6 or 7 times already in singles competition? It literally doesn't make sense. She beat her for the title, and then she beat her again at WrestleMania, and now she's like, all right, well, I guess I'll just beat you again at Evolution because she wants to fight the best. Doesn't make any sense at all. All right, makes Rhea Ripley look like a fucking pussy. Makes Io Sky look like a pussy as well for not going and trying to fight, I don't know, somebody new, anybody new, instead of putting Rhea Ripley back in this position. But whatever, okay? We move the fuck on. El Grande Americano, right? He's supposed to be in a match. But this isn't El Grande Americano. This is obviously Ludwig Kaiser. All right? Ludwig Kaiser, he came out last week, right, in a segment with Ivy Nile and American Made and all that, right? He stepped out while they were doing an interview. But I was really hoping that would go nowhere. But Triple H really legitimately put Ludwig Kaiser in the El Grande Americano gear and send him out there to face Dragon Lee on primetime television. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we're at in the wrestling business these days. We're at a point in the wrestling business where Triple H is sending out El Grande Americano, not El Grande, not Chad Gable, who was actually getting this character over, right? The crowd actually was starting to enjoy watching El Grande Americano because Chad Gable just brings a different kind of charisma to the character. He brings a good amount of charisma, and he takes chicken shit and makes it into chicken salad with everything that he's given. All right, because that's who Chad Gable is, and that's what Chad Gable does. But then you put this on, you saddle Ludwig Kaiser with this, and Ludwig Kaiser, he's getting booed out the building. All right, the people hate this. All right, everybody in the audience hates that Ludwig Kaiser is acting like El Grande Americano right now. And I also hated it, okay? I can't stand this. I can't stand that Triple H actually did this. Triple H is awful at what he does. He can't find anything for Ludwig Kaiser to do besides to be El Grande Americano's stand-in, Chad Gable's stand-in for El Grande Americano. He has nothing else to do with the guy that's about to come up in the next segment, right? Gunther, which we have to talk about, right? He has nothing to do, no help, They're not teaming together. They're not nothing. They have no relationship anymore, right? With Ludwig and Gunther, whatever. Okay, this shit was awful. The fact that Triple H actually thought that this was going to be a good idea is just further proof that he's one of the worst bookers, if not the worst booker of all time. Okay, so next we get into a little backstage segment, like a little small backstage segment with because Ludwig Kaiser won. All right, he won that match. Obviously, he won that match. But it's a little segment with Braun Breaker, Penta, and Paul Heyman. Okay, Penta's walking up. All right, Paul Heyman says some shit to him in Spanish. Penta gets mad at him. Braun Breaker's like, hey, man. He walks up, or, Braun Breaker walks up and he's like, hey, man, you gotta watch your tone when you're talking to Paul Heyman, right? Talk to him with respect. And then Penta's like, listen, cero. And he just puts his hands down, right? Does the little hand signs that he does. And fucking Braun Breaker and Paul Heyman are like, the fucking hand signs, man. Like, the hand signs, man. What is this shit for, right? And it's, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, bro, like, you have nothing else to say besides Cero Miedo, all right? Are you just a fucking emote? Like, that's all you are? That's all that you've been reduced to? You have zero character besides that? That's who Penta is, all right? And, we also got an interview from Karrion Kross right after this, all right? And the crowd is, they are over, Karrion Kross is over like Rover, all right? The crowd is cheering. They're chanting, we want Kross, all right? And I forgot to mention that earlier, while Karrion Kross was beating Sami Zayn with the lead pipe, the crowd was chanting, we want Kross, we want Kross. So, I mean, what do, right? You put him on this fucking interview segment behind a commercial that most people aren't going to see, right? Like, unless it ends up on YouTube or whatever. But he basically says that, he wants Sammy to say that Kross told the truth, and he says that he'll beat him down every week until he says that Kross told the truth. Here's my issue with this. Sami Zayn we've just been informed that Sami Zayn is out indefinitely. So does that mean that you're just going to disappear until Sami Zayn comes back? Are you going to whip some ass in the meantime? Because imagine Karrion Kross saying that. In the meantime, while Sami Zayn is gone, I'm going to be whipping ass and doing all that. But once you get back, the ass whipping continues on you, Sami Zayn, until you tell me that I was right? Imagine Karrion Kross saying that. That would actually be, somewhat exciting, right? All right, well, he's going to whip some ass. In the meantime, he's saying that he's going to, not be stale, right? Not be stagnant in the meantime while Sami Zayn is gone. But whatever, okay? Next up, we got Stephanie Vaquer. She gets a little vignette where she says some shit in whatever language from whatever country she's from. I don't give a fuck. We move on to Gunther's promo, where Gunther is I don't know what Triple H now has against Gunther. All right, I don't know if Triple H is upset with Gunther for talking shit about Triple H or what it is, but Gunther is being booked so awfully at this point that it makes zero fucking sense. All right, Gunther, his booking is. Let's jump into this real quick. All right, so Gunther comes out. All right, comes out in his little high waters and his loafers and all this shit. Right, and he says that Bill Goldberg is afraid of him because for the last 2 weeks, Gunther's been talking big shit, and Bill Goldberg hasn't done shit, right? He hasn't done anything to Gunther, right? Bill Goldberg has been gone for like 2 weeks, and Gunther's just been talking shit, and Bill Goldberg hasn't done anything, right? That's what Gunther says. So, as he's saying this, Bill Goldberg, he pulls up, all right? He pulls up I don't know, I think it was a Ford GT or something like that, right? I believe it was a Ford of some sort, right? Old school muscle car, all right? Pulls up and walks through the arena into Gorilla, out into the stage, all right? Out onto the ramp, down to the ring, all right? Gets into Gunther's face, and Gunther is fucking terrified. He was literally just talking shit. He's been talking shit for the last 2 weeks, and he's been talking all this shit, and then Goldberg gets in Gunther's face, and he's like, all right, you and me, let's settle this right now. You've been talking all this shit, let's settle this right now. And Gunther's like, all right, hold on. calm down, you know what I'm saying? This is all in good fun, you know what I'm saying? He's getting ready to say something on the microphone. Goldberg slaps the microphone out of his hand, right? Gunther's looking like, all right, please don't fucking hurt me, all right? Gunther tries to throw a shot at him, and then Goldberg hits him with one solid punch. Gunther goes down, and he's all over the fucking floor, selling the shit out of Goldberg's punch, all right? Goldberg sets up the spear, all right? As Goldberg's going for the spear, Gunther rolls out of the ring. He's like, no, all right? And Gunther is rolling around outside. He's fucking terrified. He's running away from Bill Goldberg, a 58-year-old elderly man. What is the... And Gunther, mind you, remember this, okay? Gunther is the world heavyweight champion. This shit is just getting comical at this point. I don't know what Gunther did to Triple H that made him fucking... I don't know. I don't understand. But Gunther is being booked like the biggest bitch on the planet Earth. Okay? It's crazy. I don't understand what's going on here, all right? But whatever, all right? We move on. Okay, Kairi Sane, she gets a vignette. We don't have to talk about that because we don't care. Alpha Academy, they have an interview where they say they're gonna, Natalia and fucking Maxine Dupree say they're gonna work together in the Battle Royal at Evolution all the way up until the end, where then, they'll see what happens after that. And, fucking Tozawa rips off his shirt saying they're gonna win. We move the fuck on. Who cares? All right, and then we get Penta versus Rollins. In this match, it shows why I don't like Seth Rollins. All right? I don't like Seth Rollins, and why we don't believe in Seth Rollins, okay? Because Penta whipped Seth Rollins' ass from pillar to post for 15 minutes in this match. All right? Seth Rollins got a couple of moves in. Don't get me wrong, right? He got some moves in. He got some offense in. But most of the match was Penta beating the dog shit out of Seth Rollins. And this is why we don't respect Seth Rollins, all right? Because this was Seth Rollins' title reign as well. He would go up against fucking mid-carders, all right? Mid-carders. And these mid-carders would beat this shit out of Seth Rollins from pillar to post. And Seth Rollins would just hulk up at the end and just hit a couple of moves, hit the pedigree, hit the stomp, and then just win, all right? That's just how his title reign went. Every single night, 20, 25-minute matches with absolute jobbers and mid-carders. And it's the same shit here, where Penta is whooping the shit out of Seth Rollins, and Seth Rollins has to win by hitting a low blow, all right? Hitting a nut shot on Penta, and then hitting Penta with the stomp to finally go over on Penta. This is the reason why we can't believe in Seth Rollins, all right? This is the reason why we don't believe in his dominance, because he's not dominant. He's not booked dominantly. Nobody on this team, nobody on this faction has been booked dominantly. Only Braun Breaker has had a dominant performance against literally anybody so far, and that's been against Sami Zayn. But even then, they had to premise it with 2 weeks. All right, Sami Zayn getting hit in the ribs with the metal pipe last week, getting beat on with that pipe last week, right? Then getting speared last week by by Braun Breaker. Then getting hit with the pipe again this week, right? So all that had to happen in order for Braun Breaker to actually have an impactful and actually dominant victory over somebody. And Bronson Reed didn't even win his match this evening. And Seth Rollins barely, by the skin of his teeth, with a nut shot, wins his match against Penta in the main event. Oh, why don't we think that Seth Rollins is a threat? Here you go, Triple H. There you go. This kind of booking right here. This 50-50 bullshit. These 15, 20-minute matches are killing WWE. These matches where a motherfucker is just going out there and just showing off all the great moves they have because I'm such a fucking great wrestler, dude. All these fucking matches and these long-ass matches that we're having, they don't do anything but water down the product, but water down the actual moves in the ring and put these people's lives in danger, as we saw with JD McDonough smacking his big ass cranium and dome piece on the announce table, doing a fucking a somersault, a moonsault to the outside, right next to the announce table. This is where we are. Where Triple H, he can't seem to get anybody's attention with his stories, quote unquote. So now he's just having his talent go out there and do dangerous, dumbass shit for 15 to 20 minutes in each and every single match in the hopes that maybe that'll bring some kind of spark. All right? Maybe if I bring back all these old school people, maybe if I bring back 50-year-old Trish Stratus, 50-year-old Nikki Bella, 60-year-old Goldberg, maybe that'll bring some interest back. But no, Triple H, you're not going to get away with this easy. You're not getting away with this fucking easy, all right? Because the people are revolting. The people are, they're fighting back. They're saying that this is not good enough, all right? And the people are sick and tired of the mediocrity. I am sick and tired of the mediocrity, all right? I'm sick and tired of unfinished bullshit, garbage, rushed, unfinished product, all right? On the market, this shit would have to go back. All right, this shit would get recalled if it was anything else because of how garbage it is, how unhealthy it is to subject yourself to the garbage nonsense that we get every single week. This was a longer video than I normally do, but I felt like I really had to go in depth with this video because, obviously I've been gone. So I appreciate you guys for sticking around if you stuck around this long. All right, so let me know what y'all thought about this show down in the comments below. All right, I thought this show was a 3 out of 10. All right, I gave the show a 3 out of 10 personally. All right, so let me know what y'all thought. Like and subscribe if you want to hear some more. And this has been your boy, Nate the Great, back with another video. And we'll be back with more all throughout the week. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.